In this video, I'll show you how to use layers for AutoCAD 2018. Layers are used by engineers, by drafters, so that they can organize their drawing more properly. As you practice your AutoCAD skills, you'll start to realize how to manage layers properly. So let's get started. You can find your layers in this section. For now, we will be talking about layer properties. I'll click on this. I'm on the default layer. This will be a default settings for all AutoCAD 2018 projects. Now to create a new layer, I'll press on this button. To remove a layer, I'll press on this button. Now you don't have to worry about this or this, because you can just click on the properties over here. Let me introduce to you the properties. The first symbol is about turning the layer on and off. The second is about freezing the layer. The third is about locking the layer. Now what's the difference between the three? Locking the layer. It will temporarily remove control over the layer, while turning off the layer will remove the layer temporarily from the whole drawing. The difference is that when you lock the layer, it will still be visible on your drawing workspace. However, you may not be able to control it. Now, in turning off a layer, the layer will not be controllable and it will not be visible on the workspace. That is also what happens when you freeze a layer. The difference between a freeze layer and an off layer. A freeze layer will not only remove the layer from the workspace, it will also remove the memory being used. So if you don't have a very strong computer and you would like to temporarily freeze a layer to get it running, then that is the time that you would use freeze layer. Now the next property is color. To change the color of the layer, similar to line type, the type of line, similar to line weight, the thickness of the line, similar to transparency, the opaqueness of the line. Now you don't need to consider these properties, they aren't very important. Now, let's discuss about the common layers used in engineering drawing or engineering drafting. The first and most common layer is the object layer. Now to change the layer name, you simply have to click this box. I'll change it to OBJ for object. Usually the object will have a line weight that is thick, and that will be 0.30 millimeters. Line type would be continuous. The next common layer would be the center line. For this video, I'd prefer for it to be red so I could see it. And you would notice that in the line type, there's actually a line type for a center line. To find for that line type, I'll just press load, search for center. For this video, I'll be choosing center 2. Click on center 2, then OK. The line weight for a center line is usually the normal line weight, and that will be 0.15 millimeters. Now the next layer that we will be talking about is a construction layer. I'd usually prefer it to be color blue. This layer usually represents the framework of the drawing, like the skeleton. The line type would be a simple continuous line. The line weight would be thin because you don't want it to affect the drawing too much. That would be 0.9 millimeters. For the next common layer, we have the hidden layer. These are for hidden lines. Sometimes in drawing, there are certain objects that couldn't be seen in the drawing, especially when you're doing isometric drafting, wherein you try to project a 3D object in a 2-dimensional space. I'd prefer the color to be cyan, and it will be a hidden line type. Now the line weight, usually I'd prefer the hidden layer to be a normal line weight, like the center line. 0.15. For the next layer, we will talk about the hatch layer. A hatch is basically like a shade, the shading of a drawing. And the color would usually be white. With default line types and line weight. A default line weight would be 0.15 millimeters. Now finally, for the most common layer that engineering drafters use, that would be the dimension layer. This is where you will be drawing all the dimensions of your drawing. Dimensions are basically annotations of the measurements of the different parts of the drawing, whether it be length, angle, or anything else. I'd prefer this to be color yellow, so that it will be very visible in the drawing, because measurements are quite important. It has a standard line weight and a standard line type, continuous and 0.15 millimeters. Now that's it for the common layer types. Now how do we use them? Right now, my current layer is 0, or the default. I'd like to change it for an object layer so that I can draw objects. I'll click on this. Now let's draw a line. I have drawn a line for the object layer. As you can see, it has a pretty standard look, and we have specified the line weight to be 0.3 millimeters. In order to view that, we just have to click on this button over here, show or hide line weight. As you can see, the line weight started to display itself. It got more thicker. Now let's draw another line. What if I'd like for this line to be on a different layer? I'll just click on the object, I'll click on this line, select a layer over here, and I'll change it to centerline. As you can see, it has a different line weight and a line type. What if I'd like to lock this layer over here? I'll just select on this line and press this lock button over here. As you can see, I could not control this layer, only this center line, because the layer is locked. Now what happens if I turn off this layer? Now turning off or freezing a layer requires you that you are not doing that to the current layer. Let me change my layer for a while. In order to turn off this layer, I'll find for object and click on this light button over here. As you can see, it disappeared from the workspace. And if I freeze a layer, it will also disappear from the workspace, but also from the memory being used right now. So that's it for this video. For more tutorials on AutoCAD 2018, save this playlist and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.